Good morning, First Lutheran Cincinnati. This is Tyler Moquin-Lee, pastoral intern, coming to you today from Washington Park. Thank you for joining us for midweek prayer. I just wanted to give you a couple of quick announcements for those of you joining us this week. We are going to, for Sunday, we're going to have a special service. I'm going to be leading worship, and we will also be celebrating the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. So for those of you who don't know, one of the things that is common in many churches that celebrate that particular feast day is blessing of the animals. So if you have pets, feel free to send in pictures of your pet or include them in our worship experience. We'll have a short liturgy where we will go ahead and bless those pets that are dear to us. So that's a really kind of fun thing that we're going to be doing this week. Another quick thing I wanted to make note of is Prayers of Intercession class. So I'm going to be leading a Prayers of Intercession class next week. I've got a couple of times available. Still trying to work out a specific time, but I should have them finalized this week. So if you are interested, feel free to comment. Let me know if you're interested in learning about it. What we'll be doing is learning about what goes into a Prayers of Intercession. It's a very ancient practice of our liturgy. And getting a chance to write our own, possibly using them in a service coming up. So today, for kind of some reflections I have today for midweek prayer, I think watching last night, I can't help but talk about, I think, the presidential election or presidential debate. And there's a lot of chaos, I think, last night. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me the most that I took away is that listening is important. Taking the time to slow down and to hear what other people are saying. And that goes beyond just not interrupting people, I think. It requires us to have a deep sort of sense of silence and reflection before we decide to jump to a quick comment or jump to a belief that's comfortable for us. Last week I had the opportunity in one of my classes to practice a pastoral priestly listening exercise. We talked a little bit about the story of Sarah, Abraham, and Hagar. And for those of you not familiar with the story, Abraham and Sarah left their homeland to follow God. God has led them to a new land where God's going to bless them, make their name great, give them a bunch of kids, and give them a land. And Abraham and Sarah are very old, so they're not able to have kids, or at least they would be beyond what we would typically see the age to bear kids. And so Sarah kind of jumps the gun. She's a little impatient, and she goes to Abram and says, maybe you can marry Hagar as well and have kids through her. And so Hagar is Sarah's slave, and she offers him to Abraham. They get married, and she gets pregnant. And then what starts off as a bad situation becomes a worse situation. Ultimately, Hagar doesn't feel welcome anymore. She has to leave. And then Sarah gets upset and jealous, and Abraham is just taking a bad situation, taking advantage of a bad situation. And ultimately, because they couldn't listen to what God was telling them. And Hagar goes away into the desert, and Hagar ends up encountering God, and God tells her that God's going to take care of her, to go back to Abraham and to Sarah, and she's going to have a son named Ishmael, who will also be great. But the point of the story, I think, is to say that there are a lot of different perspectives from people, and there's a lot of people that feel like they don't have a voice. And so what I want you to do this week is to take some time to slow down, to sit with your thoughts, to listen to God, to listen to your neighbor, listen to people that maybe don't have a voice in society. And that's really difficult. It's an opportunity for us to be an example to the people in power who should be examples for us. So that's just one of the things I've been thinking about this week and trying to take away from that. In addition to listening, I think it's also important for us to take those stories and those narratives from people that feel like they don't have a voice and to stand up for them too. And sometimes it's a lot more difficult than we give it credit for, and sometimes it can be really easy. It should be really easy to say white nationalism is wrong. It should be easy to say the lives of our indigenous and people of color siblings matter. But sometimes we don't have the courage to say that. So speaking boldly, but waiting and listening and making sure that we hear the stories of the people whose voices are shut out by society. So I want you to kind of take away that idea today. Is the art of listening, is to slow down. Take some time this week, close your eyes, go to the quiet place and listen to what God is saying. Go out into the world too, because we are a missional people. We are to go and to be mission to others and listen to them. And then to speak and to speak boldly and proclaim the good news that we're called to speak. Will you please pray with me? Gracious God, we thank you for the many blessings that you've given us. We thank you that you don't come to us in earthquakes and fires and loud, strong winds, but in small, silent voices. Help us to speak, to be slow to speak. Help us to be quick to listen. Help us to give voice to those who feel like they can't speak or who feel like they are shut out of society. Help us to speak boldly as well, to say that we are against the things that you are against, and to lift up the poor and the needy. All this we ask in your most holy and precious name. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here with a couple of people with my internship committee. It's really exciting. I see that Cindy is here. Say hello. And then we've also got Beverly and Ed that have showed up as well. So really exciting to get to meet some people in person, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And thank you for joining us.